So in part one, we covered the introduction and what it means to know a word. We've covered all that. Now we are starting with part two. I know yesterday we started predicting what we think the lesson will be about on strategies of teaching vocabulary. All right. Now you have to verify for all of you who managed to give prediction, and for all of you who also were in class and you have heard the predictions. You have to verify now if these were the predictions were true or not. Okay. We say that we're going to talk about first, allocate specific class time to vocabulary learning, help learners to learn vocabulary in context, engage in unplanned vocabulary teaching, encourage learners to develop word learning strategies. Those are the 4 strategies that you can use when you are focusing on grammar in the classroom. There we go. So when we are talking about allocating specific learning class to vocabulary learning, here we are talking about, at times since we are always talking about in the classroom, you should teach communicatively. There is so much focus on let's say meaning in communication. We want the classes to be lively in the group work. Do you understand? Like you are focusing on certain content, but at times we forget about paying attention to vocabulary within the lesson. All right. Sometimes you focus on reading and then answering questions, or listening, answering questions, but we forget about vocabulary. So here we are encouraged that we need to pause as teachers to focus on certain vocabulary, on certain words in the classroom. And then here there is research that shows that noting the increment nature of word learning. So it's very important for learners to meet the target word. So target word, we are talking about the vocabulary that we are focusing on in the classroom. They need to meet it many times. Why? Because they say that for learners to really gain the knowledge, to understand the word, to really know it and use it in context, use it accurately, they need to encounter it at least, how many times do we have here? 7 to, just give me 1 second. 7 to 16 times. Okay, so they need to meet it 7 to 16 times. So we need to give time on a word that we want, or words that we want our learners to learn. They need to meet it, encounter it, meet it at least 7 to 16 times for them to really understand it and have the knowledge about this word. So, and then they also suggest that don't just say, okay, since you say that, since research says that they need to meet it 7 to 16 times, then you will decide that, we're going to spend over, let's say, 30 minutes on these words that we want our learners to learn. But that's not the advice that we are given. The advice that we are given is that, let's say today you are teaching a student 5 vocabulary, 5 words, right? Let's say you are teaching them 5 words, 5 new words. So the advice is that don't just spend over 45 minutes or over 20 minutes one time hoping that they will understand and know this word. So what they yes, basically yes. All right, in simple words. I feel like your brain is working better than mine right now. This morning I didn't have any coffee. So that's what it means. So the learners need to encounter, they need to meet this word many times for a short period of time. Many times, which means many times not only in one word, but over several days. Is that more simpler? Rather than just saying, okay, in this class, we are spending 45 minutes on these words, and that's it, you never come and meet these words. You shouldn't do that. What you should do is spend a few minutes in one class, and then after a few days, come back to this word, spend a few minutes again as a review of this word. And then after a few days again, spend a few minutes, like 5 to 10 to 20 minutes. Do you understand? All right. So it makes sense, right? All right, cool. we are moving on. So that's what it means. Encounter it many times for a short period of time. All right, over several days. All right, okay, cool. It's okay, clear now. I need coffee. But it's too late to do that. Okay, and then next, the best internalization of vocabulary comes from encountering comprehension of production with words within a context of surrounding discourse. So which means for them to really understand it even better, they need to understand it. So which means read or hear about it a few times, and hopefully when they're hearing it, they understand it. And then also they need to use it in their own production, all right? And it needs to be done in context, not just say, we are going to do vocabulary and then you do definitions, but then you're not using it in context, in discourse, all right? So they need to encounter it in discourse so many times. And then that's where now the linguistic corpora comes in, because corpora, or what is the singular word for corpora? Corpus, yes, corpus. Oh, Jesus. Okay, corpus, the one that we have seen from the previous class, it gives the learners a chance to meet the word in context, because the corpora, so corpora is like many corpus. Corpora helps the learners see the word in context, because we have so many like rich resources where this word is used. Okay, so rather than just teaching this word in isolation or focusing it on dictionary definitions, learners can benefit from attending to vocabulary within a communicative framework in which it appears. I think that one is very clear. I don't need to explain that. Okay, so this is like the context part that I've just mentioned here. Learners will then associate the new word with a meaningful context to which they apply. All right, and then for example, for a beginning learner or for beginning level learners, picture, realia, gesture can be used to describe the meaning in context. All right, because if you get into a class with multilingual learners, it might be difficult for you to use one native language. Unless they all understand this one native language, then maybe you can explain the meaning in the native language. But then for beginning level learners, so for beginners, you can use pictures, you can use realia, gesture to really help them understand the word in context. All right. And then for the learners who are more advanced, you can encourage them to consult the online corpora. We have got the British one that we have seen. Was it the British or the American that we saw last time? So we have got the British National Corpus, and then the Corpus of Contemporary American English. It depends on which one you use. But for Namibia, I think most of us are taught in British English. But you can use either, all right? And then so that they gain the knowledge of the pattern sequence, particularly collocation, or words that go together with that word that they need to focus on in the classroom. So here we have got an example now of COCA. So this is now the American one, concordance example, and it shows the word interesting in context. So here we have got an example. I'm sorry, it's blurry. I cannot even see it myself. So we have got the word interesting, which is bolded, and it's used in context. All right, they can encounter it this way so that they know the collocation or which words come together with this word interesting. Is that clear so far? I think that one is clear. But let me not assume. Clear, yes or no? Yes, okay, we are moving on. So, so this sample of concordance can provide learners with instances of real language use, helping learners to know how to use the language that is appropriate in different contexts. So it's real, this because the sentences here, the discourse that is provided in corpus, it's from real material, real world material, authentic materials. So they will know how it's used in real English, not just English that is meant for people who are learning a language. So okay, we're moving on. So learners' dictionaries also offer a good resource for clear definition, and then it also gives the examples, examples of sentences drawing on a limited number of words. Okay, you know that. So you find the word, the definition, and then within the definition, they also provide sentences in which this word is used. But then it's limited in length, because here you can see that the sentences are quite long. But then in the dictionaries, many times those sentences are made shorter. But then we know that when you go online, we have online dictionaries. Do you use them? Do you use online dictionary much, or do you just Google a word? Yes or no? Do you use online dictionaries, or do you just Google words? Google words. Okay, I see. Thank you, Aune. And everybody else, what do you do? Yes, okay, Mark uses it. I thought there were so many people writing. What happened to the content? Okay, never mind. Okay, so there are those who just Google words, and then there are those who, those of you who use the dictionaries. And many times when you go on, let's say, dictionary.com is meant for native speakers, people who speak, they were born speaking English, basically. But then for us who are learning English, and for our learners who are learning English, there are dictionaries that are meant for that population. All right. So, for example, we have got Good Learner Dictionaries. We have got Oxford Basic American Dictionary for learners of English. Do you understand? And then Merriam-Webster's Learner's Dictionary. So these ones are good because how they explain the words, they use simple terms that they can help them really understand the word. But then if they use the native normal dictionaries, let's say just Merriam-Webster dictionary, which is not for learners, or Oxford dictionary that is not for learners, the definition can be a little bit difficult. Even the simplicity of sentences is so much better with the learner's dictionary. You can encourage your learners to use the online dictionaries that are meant for learners. All right. And then here they can get information about collocation, grammar, grammatical forms, register, part of words, and so forth. That is really meant for language learners. Okay. So that is the advice now. Teaching grammar or vocabulary in context. Do you have any questions? Any questions? Or are your brains also processing things slowly this morning? Okay, no questions. Thank you, Mark, for the feedback. Thank you to Sylvia. All right, next we are going to talk about engage in unplanned vocabulary teaching. All right, in all likelihood, most of the attention you give to vocabulary learning words will be unplanned. Those moments when learners ask about a word, or when a word has appeared that you feel deserves some attention. Because at times, you come into the classroom, you have your vocabulary list that you want to cover in your class with your learners. But then as you read the text, there will be instances where there is a word that the learners do not understand, but it's not part of your vocabulary. So which means that you have to focus on that word, but then it's a word that you did not plan. That's why they say unplanned vocabulary teaching. Sorry, you can't even see very well. It's cut off. I think the computer is also not processing information well this morning. But anyways, so you have to focus on those words. Here we have got an example. So this is an impromptu moment. These impromptu moments are very important. So impromptu means, what is impromptu? Yes, English teachers. This word, what does it mean? Got no idea. Sylvia has no idea. Anybody? Give it a shot. Okay, impromptu is the same. It's a synonym for unplanned. All right, unplanned moments are very important. Like unplanned, where they ask you a question of a vocabulary word that you did not plan. And sometimes they are simply brief little pointers. For example, here we have the word clumsy. Once appeared in a paragraph learners were reading and the teacher volunteered. So we're going to see an example where the learners have encountered a word clumsy that they didn't know, and then the teacher volunteered to engage in an unplanned vocabulary teaching. So how does it go? So we have got T is for teacher, SS is for students. Usually we use LS, SS. Okay, so the teacher goes, okay, clumsy. So, okay, clumsy. Does anyone know what that means? So the teacher asks, and then the teacher writes. As he or she's asking this question, she's also writing the word. He or she's also writing the word on the board. Does anyone know what this what this word means? Students are silent. Just like you guys, when I ask you questions, sometimes you're silent. And then teacher. So no one? Okay, well, take a look at the sentence it's in. His clumsy efforts to imitate a dancer were almost amusing. Now, was Bernard a good dancer? So one student raised their hand. Okay, Mona. So the teacher says. And then the student goes, well, no, he was a very bad dancer. We see this in the next sentence. So the teacher, excellent. So what do you think clumsy might mean? Student 2, not graceful? Good. What else? Anyone? Not smooth? Uncoordinated? Great. Okay. So clumsy means awkward, ungraceful, uncoordinated. And then she writes these synonyms on the boards. Is that clear now, students? Most students nod in agreement. So that is just a situation of like unplanned vocabulary teaching. Is that one clear? Yes or no? Hello? Yes. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you very much for the feedback. Okay, we are moving on. So, okay, sometimes such impromptu moments may be extended. So the teacher gives several examples and or encourage learners to use the word in other sentences. So make sure that such unplanned teaching, however, does not detract from the central focus of activity by drifting into a long and possibly irrelevant tangent. All right. So which means that you can give the learners do extra activities after you have explained that to just see if they understood by using it, all right, in their production. But at the same time, be cognizant of your objective for the class, all right. Don't go far away from the objective of your lesson, all right. Is that clear? Yes or no? Anyone? Always know the purpose of your lesson. Don't go far off from your lesson plan. All right, good. Now we are moving on to the fourth one and our last strategy, which is encourage learners to develop word learning strategies. We have a number of word learning strategies, and we're going to look at them, the suggested learning strategies that you can teach your learners to develop their vocabulary. Okay, so here we have a number of examples. So the first one is, one, word building. So you've got suffixes. All right, I hope you know that what suffixes are. Here we have got examples. So goodness, so the ness here is a suffix. Familiar, AR is suffix. Happily is suffix. So practice word formation through exercises in which the students add and subtract suffixes. Okay, so that is the first one for word building. So you give your learners activities where they either remove the suffix or they add suffix, all right, to change the word class. And you know the word class, right? Yes or no? Yes, okay, good. And then we have got prefixes. So here we've got examples: informal, unnatural, international. So substitute various root stem with prefix. So we've got inter plus action, interaction, and then add prefix, violent, non-violent. So you can do activities like this to help them now practice building their vocabulary. And then we have got roots. So examples, we have got helpful, extraordinary. Between help and full, which one is the root word? Like, which one is the root part? Helpful, which one is the root? Extraordinary, which one is the root? What do you think? Let's just focus on helpful.
Help.
Yes, Mark? Oh, help, yes.
Help.
Yeah, that's correct. Help. And then full is it a prefix or a suffix?
The prefix is suffix.
Okay, exactly. So same here. So you can work with root and then you can ask them to add either prefix or suffix to the root. Okay. And then moving on. So definition. So here is just on how to build words. These are really good activities that you can do with your learners. That is the best way to teach them. So when you have got certain suffixes have a certain meaning, right? And then you can teach them what the meaning of the suffix is, and then they can add them on different roots, all right? And then we've got prefix, all right? So for something like an, what does it mean? Not, and then they can add them on the root words, okay? And then moving on, definitions, definition clues. So we've got parentheses, example, we saw a panther, large black cat on the safari. So parentheses is like, do we say brackets? I feel like we use bracket more than parentheses. Yes or no? Or do you use parentheses? Parentheses are these signs here. This and this is a parenthesis. Okay, and then when you have a sentence and we have got parentheses in the sentence, it's always it indicates extra information on the word that appears before it. You understand? It gives you a definition of a word, or it gives you extra information to understand what they are talking about. Did you know that? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, good. All right. And then we are moving on. Another word to get definition clues is synonyms and antonyms. So for example, a birthday is an observance. That is a remembrance of someone's day of birth. Okay. So here we have got observance, and then we have got remembrance. So all this is giving you like synonyms of what a birthday is. Okay, and then superordinates. So examples, we got animal is a superordinates of dogs, of dog, lion, and mouse. So which means superordinates is more of if you have how do you say, a tree, like you are trying to help your learners understand. So we've got, you can say superordinate is more like you have got animals on top. Choto, let me find the pencil. So let's say okay, right? And then something like that, so that they understand better. And then you put this word like dog here, and then you put lion here, and then you put mouse here. And then that shows that a lion, a mouse, and a dog, they are all animals. Does that make sense? So that's what this is all about. And then we have got inference clues, specific examples. Peru is trying to restore some of its deteriorated monuments. Machu Picchu is being partly rebuilt by curators. All right. So here we are giving specific example. So here we have got Peru is trying to restore some of its deteriorated monuments. Okay. And then the next sentence is providing more example of which deteriorated monuments are they fixing, are they trying to restore. And then Machu Picchu is one of them. Do you understand? So providing specific examples, so inference clues that you can get from from the sentence or the context in which whatever is being spoken about. And then restatements. So we have got example of restatement. Some products are designed to stop perspiration, right? But this bodily secretion of salty liquid can actually help to cool you. So here we are restating this sentence. It's restating the same information here. We're talking about precipitation, sweating, basically. And then they tell you what this precipitation is about, right? It's restating the same sentence. And then contextual cues. For example, the old dog snuffled, mopped as he sadly walked from room to room. Oh, okay. All right. So here contextual cues are more words that are will help you understand the word better from the context. So we have got snuffled. Maybe you don't understand what snuffled is, or the learner doesn't understand what snuffled is. And then we've got mopped. All right. And then this information of sadly walk from room to room gives you an idea, a picture of like, oh, maybe it has something to do with a sad dog with its head down as it walks slowly and walking sadly from room to room. And then that can give you clues. All right. So that is now the contextual cues to give you extra information or to give you an idea of what the words mean. And then we've got number 4, word association. Oh my God, I cannot hear myself. Word associations. All right. And then we've got linking meaning. So for example, fat pig, tall tree. And then we've got linking meaning. So fat pig. And then we've got tall tree. And then we have got collocation, tell the truth, make a copy. So these are the words that come together. We hardly say tell a lie or something. Do you understand? So these are just words that always come together. You if you see a word copy, it's like, oh yeah, what are you going to do? Make a copy or make copies. So this is what collocation is about. All right. And do you have questions on those word formation strategies? Any questions? No questions. Okay. Yeah, and then here linking meaning. When somebody's saying fat pig, it always gives you an idea of like what it means. You get an idea of how the words are connected and their meanings. Anyways, we are moving on. And we still have a few minutes and I think we're going to finish this class. Yay. Considering that only a small fraction of the word list can be covered inside the classroom, so it's necessary for learners to develop effective strategies for learning vocabulary on their own. So why did we look at these strategies here? Is because they are very necessary and important for them to build vocabulary on their own outside the classroom. All right. It's the same with you guys. We cannot learn everything about how to teach English in the classroom. We need to provide you we need to provide you with ideas of how to then get the necessary information or how to equip yourself when you go into the classroom. You need to do research. Do you understand? We talk about this as I explain, because we cannot cover everything in the classroom. So are you. You cannot cover all the vocabulary in the classroom. So what you need to do is equip. You need to arm your learners with the necessary strategies and skills that they can develop their own vocabulary on their own with their own time. Okay, so word learning strategies refer to the planned approaches that a word learner takes as an agent of his or her own word learning. And we don't want our learners to depend so much on us. We need to help them be independent learners. All right. And then once they encounter unknown words, they can try to figure out how the word are used by asking questions such as, is the word countable or uncountable? Is there a particular preposition that follows it? All right. Is it a formal word? Is it formal or is it an informal word? Does it have a positive or a negative connotation? You understand by connotation, right? By now. Connotation? Yes or no? Does it have a positive or a negative connotation? What does connotation mean? Anyone? And you can be honest if you don't know. It's okay. Or did I lose you? Are you still here? Hello? Oh, okay. Yes, Johannes. I thought I lost you.
I think it's like connotation on my own point of view, understanding is like it's a negative background or something like kind of that.
Okay, negative background. Thank you, Johannes. I really appreciate people who, try. Okay, this is Albertina's answer is the old answer, right? Connotation. Anyone? Yeah, inferred meaning, yes. Okay, thank you, Johannes, for your contribution. Okay, it's background. I kind of understand what you're trying to say there, but if I say, does it have a positive or negative connotation? It's like inferred meaning. Does it have a positive or a negative meaning? All right, as simple as that. Thank you, Mark, for your contribution as well. All right, so that's what we have there. And I think we were supposed to cover this first before we looked at the strategies. Oh, dear Lord. But anyways, I think you got the idea. So it's really necessary to help your learners know how to learn on their own. Not only vocabulary, any other skills. How do they how do they become better readers? Teach them reading strategies, and we'll look at some of them. Listening strategies, writing strategies, like how do you write? You teach them those skills, and then they can build more knowledge regarding whatever skills or aspect like grammar or vocabulary on their own. You don't want your learners to always depend on you. You want them to be independent human beings. All right? Do you have questions so far on teaching grammar? Teaching vocabulary. I keep saying grammar. Questions? Yes or no? No from Selma? No from Mark? All right, so you think you can teach grammar, right, in the classroom? Yes or no? No meaning no, you cannot. Aune. No, you cannot still teach grammar. Okay, yes, you can, right? You can try. And you can always mix these strategies up. Don't just use one, use a number of them. And by the way, teaching is, what do we say? Teaching is all about, vocabulary, yes. Teaching is all about trial and error. You will make mistakes. Sometimes you will win. You will try out things. Sometimes they will work, okay? And sometimes they will not. And then from that experience, you'll know what will work and what will not work and how to change that. Is that clear? All right. You should not be afraid. You should be confident enough in yourself and be willing to try and fail, because that's what life is all about. Okay. And then from the process of failure, learn something. Don't beat yourself up. All right, and expose yourself to so much information that is provided to you by Mrs. Google, or is it Mr. Google? There's so much information, but make sure that you get most of your information from websites that are educational. What do we mean by educational? Website that most of them that ends with edu, like .edu. Those are the best website that you can use to get better information that is based on research. Okay, do you have questions? Any other questions? Not any other questions, but do you have questions? Or even .org is also good. And .com, everybody now has blogs, teachers, and then they'll let you know about their experiences. You can also learn from those, but always verify. Okay, if you find that there are 4 blogs or that is like websites that ends with .com. Let's say 3 of them are saying the same thing, then that, you can conclude that makes sense. That is what people are doing when you are teaching a certain aspect that you want to teach your learners. All right. And then .com means commercial website, which means anybody and everybody can write anything. But then this one, ORGs, is organization. EDU is educational. These are now websites that are more verified than the .com, because .com, anybody can write anything. even you can write anything depending on what you think is right. Okay, so just be careful about the .com websites. Okay, any other questions? Yes or no? Or do you have questions at all? You didn't ask me any questions. No questions. All right. If there are no questions, since Selma said there are no questions. Oh, there's another one. I thought we were done. Okay, I'll finish this quickly. Oh, what a day. So an effective way to encourage word learning is to urge learners or students to use vocabulary notebooks. I think that's a brilliant idea. To enter new words and to review them daily once they identify their learning goals. All right. Studies have shown that in order to understand television shows, learners need to know about 3,000 words, word families, and have knowledge of proper nouns. This is a lot of words, okay? But then, so which means they need to build their vocabulary, and using vocabulary notebooks is a brilliant way. And I can share some of the worksheet that I have used in the past with my learners. I did that in the States and also in Japan, like vocabulary notebooks where the learners can write their words that they've learned and how they've used them. Okay, I hope I still have those examples I can share with you and you can share with your learners, and then they can use this outside the classroom. All right. If they wish to read novels and newspapers comfortably, they need to have a vocabulary size of 8,000 to 9,000 word families. All right. And then the fact that increasing vocabulary sizes will influence the degree to which they can understand and use the language may motivate them to be determined to expand their vocabulary notebooks. All right. You have to tell them, why is it really necessary for them to have the notebooks, vocabulary notebooks? Because it helps them even express themselves better. When they read, they understand better. And then when they listen, they understand so much more better than when they don't put in effort to learn vocabulary. Okay? All right, I think that should be our last one. Yes, that's the end. Okay. So with what I've just said here, do you have questions? Yes or no? Any questions? Hi, I am talking to you. All right, thank you so much. So if everything is correct, then this is the end of the class. I will see you after the recess. Have a wonderful recess. And by the way, I have, what have I done? I have uploaded the explanation of the task that you need to do. And you can go through it when you get time, but I'm not saying that you should work during recess. And yeah, the instruction is there. And I'll put the due date so that you know when you're going to submit the task that I've given you. And everything is on Moodle under Unit 5, right? All right. Take care of yourselves out there. Bye, everyone.